Let's get you the latest on the situation between Israel and Iran and bring in our correspondent Tim Swanston, who is in Tel Aviv for us. Tim, good morning. In the wake of this war, there's been a lot of competing voices about the state of Iran's nuclear program. What do we actually know?
Yeah, James, it's a good question. I mean, there has been a lot of commentary over the last 24 hours over just how much damage has been done at those Iranian nuclear facilities in the wake of both the United States and Israel's strikes. Those are the three nuclear facilities of Natanz, Isfahan and Fordow. Now, this all comes just about 24 hours ago, a leaked US intelligence defence report that cast a lot of doubt on the impact at those sites that effectively said that the United States strikes had perhaps only set back the nuclear program of Iran by a matter of only a few months. Now, that's something that US President Donald Trump has effectively criticised. He said that that report was just preliminary, and he's doubled down on his claims that those nuclear facilities were obliterated. Speaking at NATO today, he also likened the United States getting involved in the Israel-Iran war to the United States atomic bombing of Japan in World War II. Here's what he had to say.
That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
Now, he's also said that the United States plans to meet with Iran next week to discuss the next steps regarding their nuclear program. He said at NATO, we're going to talk to them. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think that's necessary. Now, for its part, Iran also is clearly making moves to suspend its cooperation with the UN's nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency. We've seen that Iranian parliament has just recently approved a bill that would say any future inspection by the UN nuclear watchdog would need approval by the Supreme National Security Council. We saw a statement by Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Khalibaf, who quoted by state media and said that Iran would accelerate its civilian nuclear program. James?
And Tim, while all of this has been going on, of course, there's been plenty of developments in Gaza, and a lot of them have been well and truly overshadowed. What is the latest there and those renewed calls for a ceasefire?
Yeah, it has been overshadowed, but of course the war in Gaza has continued and there's been very little let up in the violence. In fact, over the last 12 days of the Israel-Iran conflict, we've seen that there's figures being released by Gazan health officials that say that more than 800 Palestinians have been killed, at least 30 just on Wednesday alone. Now, there's been mounting both international and domestic calls for a ceasefire in Gaza, especially, of course, as attention has returned to that war. Internationally at NATO, we saw French President Emmanuel Macron, as well as also Turkish President Erdogan, renew their calls for a ceasefire. Domestically, there's also renewed calls and considerable support for a ceasefire that appears to be growing. We've also seen in the last 24 hours that Israel's military said 7 soldiers have been killed in southern Gaza. This would be the deadliest day for Israel's military since a ceasefire was just last broken earlier this year, and it's no doubt that the deaths of these soldiers will again increase and intensify calls from people here about achieving a ceasefire and the return of the hostages. Of course, we're approaching the 2-year mark to this war, and it appears that there is that mounting calls for a ceasefire.